Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about something that's, well, often invisible, but absolutely critical for using the web. We're talking about focus, that little highlight that tells you where you are on a page. When it goes missing, it can make a website pretty much unusable for a lot of people.
You know that feeling, right? You're using your keyboard, maybe tabbing through a form or some links, and then, poof, you have no clue where you are. The page is still there, you're still pressing the tab key, but your cursor's location is a total mystery. It is so frustrating.
I think this is the perfect way to picture it. It's just like trying to change the channel, but someone's hand is right in front of the TV's sensor. You're pushing buttons, the remote is working fine, but nothing is happening on the screen. That little focus indicator on a web page, that's the signal. And when something blocks it, you're basically navigating blind.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll dig into the invisible focus problem. Then, we'll look at a simple rule for fixing it. We'll identify the usual suspects, the things that cause it, and then navigate some of the trickier situations. We'll also see exactly who this helps, and we'll wrap up with how we can all help make the web a little more visible.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the invisible focus problem. So, what is this focus thing, really? And why is it such a huge deal when you can't see it?
So, how do we solve this? Well, that leads us right into Section 2. There's actually a simple rule for visibility. And it's not just a good idea, it's an official guideline from the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, also known as WCAG. Specifically, we're talking about Success Criterion 2.4.11.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the rule, let's just make sure we're all on the same page with this term, keyboard focus. It's really just the official name for that highlighted spot, that little glowing box that shows you which link or button is currently active. It's the web's version of a "You Are Here" map marker.
And here's the rule itself, word for word. When a user interface component receives keyboard focus, the component is not entirely hidden due to author-created content. Okay, yeah, that sounds a little technical and formal, I get it. But the idea behind it is actually super simple and really, really powerful.
Let's just boil that down. Step 1, the goal. Just keep the focus thing visible. Step 2, the action. Make sure nothing you've put on the page is hiding it. And step 3, the why, so people using a keyboard always know where they are. It really comes down to this. If you can get to something with your keyboard, you have to be able to see it. Simple as that.
Okay, so we've got the rule. Now let's get into the real world with Section 3, the usual suspects. What are the common culprits on websites that are always causing this problem?
I bet you've seen all of these. First on the list, sticky headers and footers. Those navigation bars that stay glued to the top or bottom of your screen when you scroll? They are famous for covering things up. Then you've got things like cookie banners that pop up but don't stop you from interacting with the page. And of course, light boxes, those grayed out overlays. Every single one of these can accidentally hide the exact thing a person is trying to click on. Let's look at a classic example and a surprisingly easy fix. On the left, we have the problem. A user tabs down to a link at the very bottom of the page, but whoops, the sticky footer is completely covering it. They're lost. But on the right, we have the solution. A simple piece of CSS called scroll padding automatically adds a little buffer space. Now, when the user tabs to that link, the page scrolls just enough for the link to appear right above the footer. It's so clean. Problem solved.
But websites aren't static anymore. Things move around, pop up, and change. So what happens then? That takes us to Section 4. Navigating the tricky parts.
So what if you've got something like a web-based design tool, where you can drag toolbars wherever you want? What if you, the user, move a toolbar right on top of a button? Well, the rule is pretty smart about this. It only applies to how the page first loads. Creators have to give you a clear layout to start with. If you decide to rearrange things yourself and cover something up, that's on you. And what about those persistent pop-ups? Like a little chat widget in the corner. There are a bunch of really good ways to handle them so they don't cause trouble. Instead of just slapping it on top of everything, it could push the page content down, or the text could reflow around it. A really important one is to trap the keyboard focus inside the pop-up, so you can't accidentally tab to something hidden behind it. All of these strategies prevent that lost focus problem. And here's the bottom line. It's all about keeping the user in control. If you open a menu or a chat window and it covers up part of the page, there has to be a super simple way to close it and get right back to where you were, like just hitting the escape key. You shouldn't have to go on a scavenger hunt for a tiny little X button.
We've been talking a lot about rules and code, but let's take a step back. Why does this all matter so much? That's what Section 5 is all about, who this rule helps. Because this isn't just about a technical detail, It has a massive human impact.
And this is the part that's so crucial to get. It's not just one small group of people. Of course, it's essential for keyboard-only users who might have a motor disability, but think about someone with low vision using a screen magnifier. That visible focus outline is their anchor. It tells them where they are in that zoomed-in window. And it's also a huge help for people with attention or memory limitations because it gives them a constant visual cue of their spot, which lowers their cognitive load. Honestly, it helps just about everyone.
All right, let's wrap this up and bring it all together. For our last section, let's talk about the key takeaways for anyone out there building stuff for the web, from making the web more visible.
When you get right down to it, it can be a pretty simple cheat sheet. On the Succeed side, we have that awesome technique, using CSS scroll padding. It's an elegant solution to the whole sticky header and footer problem. And on the Avoid side, that's the #1 failure, letting those sticky elements completely hide a focused link or button. So the takeaway is clear. Add some padding and don't let things overlap.
And there we have it. We've seen how this one tiny detail, just making sure the focus is always visible, is actually a massive part of building a web that's usable and accessible for everyone. It really makes you look at websites differently, doesn't it? So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Is your website hiding in plain sight?